I'm John Feldt. This is the Blue Water Outlook, weekly water outlook for June 2nd, 2013 for the Southeast U.S. Well, it was a quiet week over the Southeast U.S. I wanted to start off by sort of showing the jet stream here for last week, and the blue is the highest atmospheric energy, or the winds, and the strong winds came down into the southwest U.S. and then came out in this area, and that's why we had so much severe weather over parts of the central U.S. Now, if you look at over the southeast U.S. here, what you see is sort of a quiet pattern. The winds are pretty light. The jet stream's well to our north and west. That's why it's been so quiet over the southeast U.S. over the last week, while the central part of the U.S. was quite busy. This is the rain that fell over the last week, and you can see very little rain, with the exception of South Florida, fell over the area. Actually, much of the southeast U.S. did not receive any rain at all over the last week. So percentages of normals, look at this. It's been a long time since I've really seen this widespread coverage of below normal over the southeast U.S. It's not unusual to get some areas with this, but this is just really widespread as far as below normal precipitation. Also, look at this dividing line here, right here. Up to the north of this, look at this, 3 to 4 times normal precipitation. Down here, 0 precipitation. So that's that jet stream. When you get that strong jet stream, it really defines borders and patterns of precipitation. So this week, it's going to be well to our north, the jet stream. And you might say, well, does that mean it's going to be pretty quiet over the southeast U.S.? Well, not necessarily. I think it's going to be more active than last week, but still not all that active. And it's going to be more of a typical summertime pattern with the jet stream up to the north, but enough energy, some weak frontal activity, and I'm going to talk even about some tropical activity that'll bring precipitation to parts of the region. Speaking of tropical activity, there's been some disturbed tropical activity, a tropical depression Barbara, sort of in the western Gulf, and this isn't necessarily that system, but there has been disturbed weather, areas of low pressure in the Gulf and the parts of the western Caribbean. And there are signs, the models have been trying to bring this more eastward across the Gulf, depending on the model solution, either into the central or the northeast Gulf of Mexico across Florida. But I think now the prevailing track has been more east, and there's more confidence that if it does develop and move east, it would move over South Florida. There's no sign whatsoever that this is going to intensify into anything significant. I think if it does move east, it's going to be more of just a tropical low, maybe a tropical depression at this time. And right now it looks like it's going to impact mainly South Florida. But keep in mind, when we get this type of tropical moisture, you can get very heavy rainfall, even with these extremely weak in intensity type systems. So here's the rainfall forecast, and we really have two dynamics going on. We have the boundary and that's going to be moving across the southeast U.S., a frontal boundary that'll be causing some scattered precipitation. It'll be enhanced over higher elevations and in parts of the Carolinas where there could be more of a significant precipitation. Pretty much anywhere over most of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi on south, I think it's going to be quite scattered. So it could add up to around an inch, but generally quite scattered. Then at the boundary, or the tropical activity I mentioned in South Florida, you can see right there. And there's the possibility of 3-4 inches of rain, maybe even higher if that system does push right over the Florida, southern tip of Florida. So let's look out a little bit further out. This is June 10th through 18th. And you can see this light shading of blue from this one model. And that's showing that this pattern of scattered type showers and thunderstorms looks like it'll continue not just this week, but into next week as well. This isn't necessarily heavy rain, but this is pockets of rain that look like they will sustain soil moisture, sustain typical runoff patterns right through the middle part of June. This is also probably fairly good for keeping us out of drought over most of the area, but I will be talking a bit in my newsletter and other briefings on possibility of drought expanding over southern parts of Alabama and Georgia that I've seen recently. But I think at least over the northern and central parts, there should be just enough precipitation to probably keep things pretty much status quo when we consider that temperatures will be well into the 80s in those regions. Now, speaking of temperatures, I did want to point out a temperature outlook for the next 2 weeks. Green is below normal, red's above normal. And you can see that there's a strong core of below normal temperatures to our north, and it somewhat extends into the southeast U.S. I think on this week 1, with the clouds and scattered showers, temperatures will be fairly close to normal, or maybe over the north part and the western part of our region, maybe a little bit below normal. Week 2, very similar pattern. I think what we're generally looking at is normal type temperatures over the next couple weeks. Soil moisture over the next week, it looks like we will have enhancements of soil moisture or increases in soil moisture, especially over parts of the Carolinas, northern Georgia. Everywhere else, just modest changes, generally on the downside. But you can see central and south Florida with that tropical activity, the potential for more significant increases in soil moisture and runoff. So the takeaway points from this week's briefing, we're getting into a summer type pattern now. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, some pockets of heavy rain, but overall it looks to me like it's going to be pretty much in the normal range. I think next week when I do this briefing, we're going to see these pockets of some red, some blue, indicating scattered type of showers and thunderstorms. The most widespread activity looks like it should be in the Carolinas, and then we're going to keep an eye on that tropical activity moving eastward across the Gulf, which could produce heavy rain over central and south Florida. Now, I have a lot of information coming out this week. I have my newsletters coming out, both for the ACF Basin and the Blue Water Outlook newsletter. I have an Outlook edition coming out on Thursday and a Water Manager's update this week as well. So stay tuned for a lot of information from Blue Water Outlook, and I will be updating this briefing again next week.